Hi everyone, this is Charlotte and Jenny from the Bursary
Hi
Foundation.
everyone.
So, we're going to take a little bit of a break from the normal this week and have a look at exam technique. So, what we mean by that is basically the do's and don'ts of sitting an exam and the way the answer sheets for multiple choices could be presented to you. So you might have something that looks a bit more like your SATs, where you're given the paper and you write down your workings out and write your answers on a particular line or in a box. Or you could be given multiple choice where you've got to fill out a particular number in a particular way on a separate answer sheet. So we're just going to go through some examples of how to do that and to make sure that you're getting everything right if you can. Exams make everyone nervous. I think I always got nervous before
Yeah,
exams.
yeah,
Same for
me
you, I
too.
guess.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So it is natural to feel nervous, and I think don't panic about the fact if you've got a bit of butterflies in your stomach is really, really important because every single person will. But there's a few checklists of things that you can do just to make it a bit more manageable if you do feel yourself getting worried. So make sure you read all of the questions super carefully. There might also be an adult at the front of the room reading things out to you, or they might play you a tape with the instructions as well to help you out. Make sure that you go through, find easy questions first, and skip anything that's difficult and come back to it later where you can as well. And it's also better to do fewer questions and do them really, really well than it is to rush to get every single thing done. Because if you're rushing, chances are that you're going to end up guessing or making silly mistakes and getting things wrong. If you get, say, 8 out of 10 questions done, but all of those 8 out of 10 questions are correct, that's going to be far better than doing 10 out of 10 but making silly mistakes on 4 of them. Right. I think the other thing is that for a lot of the state schools that do the 11 plus, so places like in Trafford and Altrincham Boys School and Sale, for example, no matter how hard the question is, it's only worth 1 mark.
Mm.
So you might as well do
Yeah,
5 questions worth 1 mark in 5 minutes than do one question that's really difficult that takes you 5 minutes and is still only worth 1 mark overall.
yeah, absolutely. And in a way, you have to think about it. Time is
Mm,
points, time is marks, because the time is so limited. Charlotte's
mm-hmm.
absolutely right. There's no point sitting there for 5 minutes trying to, if you're really struggling with something, because in the next question there might be three dead easy marks that you can do in 2 minutes.
Yeah, so look through the whole paper or the whole section of the exam first and make sure you just know what's there. Some
Yeah.
exam boards will only let you do one chunk of the paper at a time. Some of them will give you the entire paper, so make sure you double check which one that is when you're reading your instructions. If you're only allowed to do one section, just skim through the entire section, tick off the ones that you think you can do really easily, answer those first, and then do anything else later. I think practicing doing timed tests by yourself is also really handy. So, like the kind of things you do in school where you've got, 100 times table questions to do in 5 minutes and stuff like
Mhm.
that is perfect practice for all of this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you can think of, Jenny, that I've not mentioned?
Um, I don't know if you're going to come on to this later, but
Hmm.
something that always helped me was jottings on a spare piece of paper.
Yeah.
If you're given, which you will be given, a blank sheet for working out, if there's anything that you've got in your mind at the beginning of the exam that you
Hmm.
just want to get written down, so that might be your the backpack. Is it the backpack
Yeah.
for
Rucksack.
yeah
Rucksack. That's
backpack?
the one.
Don't write backpack. Anything that helps you to remember, maybe jot the alphabet down,
Hmm.
things, your tools in your toolkit, get them written down, and then you're not trying to keep them in your head.
Yeah. And for goodness sake, if you've got a really tricky maths problem or something like that, make sure you write down your workings for that on a spare piece of paper. Or
Yeah.
if there's a box that tells you to put your workings in that space, do that. Because if I've got 4 steps in a maths question that I need to do, I'm not going to keep that in my head. I'm going to forget those numbers in about 5 seconds. So
Definitely.
It's far better, if in doubt, write it down.
Absolutely.
All right. So here's some examples of the kinds of instructions you might be given. So the first one over here is from the GL exam board. The second one over here is from the CEM exam board. You don't need to worry particularly about what all of that means. It's just a case of making sure that you know there could be different instructions you're presented with.
And we can talk you through that. Sorry, Charlotte. On, closer to the time, we can, talk a bit more specifically about that, can't we?
Yeah, definitely. And, I think the thing to remember is there's going to be lots of similarities to something like SATs. But unlike SATs, it's not every single school doing every single paper the same and the exact same way. So don't get thrown off if there's anything in a sheet of instructions that you've not seen before or you're not used to. Just do what that particular paper tells you to do. Okay.
Yeah.
So as an example, for instance, over on the left-hand side here, this one is obviously a multiple choice test, and it gives you an example of how you should be filling the boxes out. Okay, so this is really helpful because you now know, great, I know how to do this, brief line through. Also, pencil and pen with you. A lot of these suggest filling out multiple choice answer sheets with pencils so that you can actually rub it out if you make a mistake. Okay, last thing you want is to have 2 lines showing up on your sheet of paper and the computer that marks it to get confused and think you've put down more than one answer and give you an incorrect score because of that.
Yeah.
All right. So this is the kind of thing that an answer sheet might look like. There'll be a bit at the top, a bit like in your SATs, that asks you to fill out your name and your date of birth and, a particular exam number that they'll give you on the day or in a letter. And then they'll give you all of the answers in a sheet that looks a bit like this. Again, the exact format of it might be a bit different, but this is an example of what you should do. So I've pulled out the important instructions for that on the left-hand side here. I won't read them all out to you. You can pause the video here and read it yourself if you want. The main thing to remember is to make sure that you've checked exactly which question you're answering. Make sure you match the number of that question to the number in the box here, and make sure you have one neat line going through the box for every single question.
Yeah, do not spend a lot of time doing that, trying to shade in the box so it's perfectly shaded in. No, it's a straight line onto the next one.
Just a nice clear straight line.
To do that. Charlotte, do you think it's worth on the question paper circling their answer as well? So that if they have time, they can go back and check, 1, have they circled D? Have they marked D?
Definitely, yes. I think that's a very, very good idea indeed. So circle it, make sure you're right, and then clearly mark that on your test paper. Whatever you do, please make sure you don't only mark it on the test paper and then forget to do it on the answer sheet. You've got to make sure you've done it on both of them.
Yeah.
All right. So here's an example of what this might look like. I'm just going to collapse this down because otherwise you can't see the paper very well. So what's happening here is I've pulled out, for instance, question 2 from a non-verbal reasoning paper where we've got to find the shape on the right that's like the one on the left. I've got question 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 in this line. So I need to make sure that I'm answering question 2. I've put a circle in it. Maybe if you're doing it, you could keep one finger on the question or just make sure that you're going through and copying it over. So with this one, I might as well run through the question and how I'd solve it really quickly to give you an example. I can see that I've got these 2 shield shapes, and I can also see that I've got a circle in each one and a triangle. The shading of the circles is different in both of them, so that's obviously not the similarity or the alike shape I'm looking for. Something I can see that's the same in both of them is that this shield shape on the outside seems to be the same as the shield shape on the inside. Try saying that 5 times really quickly. So if I go through this, I need to find the shield that is the same on the outside and the inside. Looking at that, A is the only one that actually obeys that law, because in this one, for example, for B, they're facing the wrong direction, but these are consistently facing in the right direction.
What about D?
For D, that's a very good point, actually. So D has the same on the outside and inside. So let's get rid of B, let's get rid of A, and let's get rid of E, wrong shape. So what else is similar? They've both got a triangle at the bottom, and they've both got a circle next to the shield. So that means then that A isn't any good because it's a circle at the bottom. Yeah. So it has to be D as a result of that.
That's it. So that's really clear. If you've got time to go through and check that D is your answer, so you can go to 2 and see your line through D.
So I've again crossed off anything I know is an incorrect answer, circled it. At that point, I'm going to go back to my exam sheet and I'm going to say, well, I've got question 2. Yep, I've definitely checked that off. I've got D. So I'm going to put a single nice neat line through D. If you did what I did originally and you started marking A, and then the Jenny in your head said, hey, Charlotte, you're rushing again. Are you quite sure about that? What I'd do is rub that out, get rid of it completely, and then put my line through D here.
Yeah.
You've not got to worry about the line being perfectly straight or anything like that. As long as it's a clear line going through the middle of that box, that's the thing that the computer recognises and will mark you as correct for.
Good. It's important to remember this is marked by a computer, not a person. A computer can't say, oh, well, I think actually they meant to put D there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which is why it's important to get this absolutely perfect every single time. So I'll have a look at one more example question. So I'm on to number 5 now. So I've already marked that number 2 is D. Maybe 3 and 4 we decided were a bit tricky, and I actually found number 4 really difficult on this exam paper. So we skipped ahead to number 5. Great, let's have a look at this. So I can see that I seem to have a shape on the top that's been rotated 90 degrees anti-clockwise to create a shape on the bottom. And that seems to be the same for this one as well. Yeah. So if I have a look at A, well, that's definitely not being rotated 90 degrees because the flat side to the pointy side is not a 90-degree change. Yeah. B is exactly the same problem. That's not a 90-degree shift. Yeah. C, that looks like 90 degrees to me. D is also a 90-degree shift anti-clockwise. And E is also a 90-degree. So what I'm going to do then is double check what's going on with another element of the shape, which is this circle in the middle. So if I imagine that I've taken this circle here, just draw that in for us, and rotated it 90 degrees, the black section would now be on the top.
Clockwise. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so we're going anti-clockwise. I think? Yes. Okay. So, what that means then is that the position of the black and white half of the circle has changed. And if I double check this one again, it starts off with the black section on the right, but now it's rotated anti-clockwise and moved.
No, it's gone clockwise.
Yeah. So it's almost like it's gone over clockwise instead of anti-clockwise for the circle then, isn't it?
Yeah.
You could also say both of the top shapes have a black half on the right-hand side, and both of the bottom shapes have a black half on the bottom side.
Yeah.
So I'll go through and check this. So C, it's got a black half on the right, but then it's got the black half on the top, so that's no good.
Yeah.
D has the black half on the right and the black half on the bottom. We'll just double check. E, oh, well, that's the black half on the left. That's no good.
Yeah.
So the answer has to be D as a result.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go up. I've done number 5, so I need to go up to number 5. And the answer for this one again is D. So nice, neat line right through the middle.
Really
and that's
good.
us done.
I think it's just worth saying there, if you had skipped 3 and 4, it will be really easy to put your answer for 5 in the answer box for 3.
Yeah.
If you've left one out.
Definitely. Yeah. And then that would mean that everything you do after that could potentially get
be wrong.
skewed one place to the right as
But
well.
just be really careful with that. Always checking where's the question number.
Yeah, so I've definitely just solved number 5. Great, let's find number 5 up here. And that's that. It's not too difficult. And it's the kind of thing that when you get used to it and the more you do it, the easier it gets. You just need to make sure that you've got used to it and that however they present it to you, you follow their instructions very carefully.
Yeah. Great.
Brilliant. Well, thanks very much for watching, everyone. I hope you found that really, really helpful. We'll be producing some more lesson-based videos next week rather than going on to exam technique in this particular case. So enjoy the half term for everyone who's on half term at the moment, and we'll see you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.